Coming up on AC 24/7, a warning from the CDC about a sharp rise in the number of babies treated for syphilis, what pregnant mothers should know. Plus, trouble in the air, the FAA responding after a series of frightened flights. We'll tell you about the arrests, the injuries, and the diverted flights. And there's a new report about the health of railroad workers cleaning up after that toxic train derailment in Ohio, what union leaders are now demanding from the federal government. Hey there, welcome to AC 24/7. I'm your host, Lamar Baldwin. The CDC is now reporting an alarming rise in syphilis cases in babies. The report shows unaware mothers are passing the disease to newborns during pregnancy. As the Advocate Channel's Elizabeth Cohen reports, these infants enter the world with a life-threatening health condition.
Yes, we're losing a lot of men to venereal disease, Colonel. Thank you. You can see for yourself.
World War II government health campaigns like these warned U.S. soldiers about the dangers of syphilis. It took decades, but eventually there was success. This 1999 report showing syphilis cases dramatically reduced, with cases plummeting to record lows. But now, syphilis rates are back up again. Preliminary CDC data showing a 68% increase in cases from 2017 to 2021. Venus Johnson is one of the youngest victims. Her mother passed syphilis on to her during pregnancy.
I thought my grandchild was going to die before she even had a chance to live.
Danae Johnson, Venus's grandmother, says Venus's mother felt sick when she was about 5 months pregnant.
I took her to the hospital and they just sent her away. Climb up.
She says the syphilis was caught and treated just 2 weeks before delivery.
Good girl.
But by that time, Venus's lungs had already been permanently damaged. Now she gets sick often, had RSV last fall, and was on a ventilator and in the hospital for a month. Other children born with syphilis have suffered liver problems or even become deaf or blind. Congenital syphilis rates have increased about 700% in the past 10 years. In 2021, more than 2,600 babies born with the infection. More than 200 of them died. Part of the problem? Success decades ago at getting syphilis rates down.
Syphilis and congenital syphilis are things that many doctors have not seen in their careers. And so it's so important for people and for providers to be aware of the fact that syphilis has returned.
Venus's illness, other babies' deaths, could have been prevented with one of the oldest and cheapest of drugs, penicillin.
And it's something that we really should be able to eliminate in this country because we have the ability to screen and properly treat everyone.
So now a fight from 80 years ago.
If we could have discovered the condition of the mothers before the 5th month of pregnancy, we could have treated them, and the children would have been born perfectly healthy.
That fight is back again. A disease that was once on its way to being eliminated in the U.S. has returned.
A Pennsylvania man is accused of trying to bring an explosive on a plane. 40-year-old Mark Muffley faces federal charges after airline workers found explosive materials, fuses, and a lighter in his checked bag. The Advocate Channel's John Lawrence reports.
A flight from Lehigh Valley International Airport headed to Orlando was disrupted Monday after bomb-type materials were uncovered in a suitcase as it went through TSA. Court documents say investigators found a circular compound around 3 inches in diameter, wrapped in a wax-like paper and clear plastic wrap, hidden in the lining of the luggage. Authorities also recovered other items, including a can of butane and a lighter.
It was hidden. It was, the fuse was secreted in the lining of the suitcase. So it's an indicator that Mr. Muffley allegedly knew that he wasn't supposed to be bringing that on an airplane.
According to court documents, the baggage belongs to Mark Muffley, who was caught on security cameras leaving the airport after TSA agents paged him over the intercom system to report to security.
Every place where this gentleman could have gotten caught at the airport in the airport process seems to have stood up and worked as intended, which is definitely a good sign.
The 40-year-old Muffley was arrested Monday night without incident by the FBI.
He did two things that a suspect should never do. He concealed the device, concealment is evidence, and then he fled the airport, and flight is evidence. So I think those two factors will mitigate against him.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
A flight from Texas to Germany was forced to make an emergency landing after rough air and several injuries. At least 7 people on the Lufthansa plane were treated for injuries. According to the FAA, the plane ran into severe turbulence about 90 minutes into the flight. At least 7 people on the Lufthansa flight were treated for injuries. According to the FAA, the plane ran into severe turbulence about 90 minutes into the flight over Tennessee. The airline calls it clear air turbulence, which can occur without a visible weather event or any advance warning. Another frightened flight after a battery pack caught fire in an overhead bin. Fire from the battery spread into the backpack and filled the cabin with smoke. People on board quickly put the fire out, but the flight from Dallas to Orlando had to make an emergency landing in Jacksonville. Spirit released a statement thanking the crew and passengers. Railroad workers cleaning up the Ohio train wreck now report they're falling ill from the toxic waste. Union leaders are asking for safety improvements. The Advocate Channel's Miguel Marquez reports.
I definitely think we're on a good path.
Nearly a month since the derailment, toxic chemical spill, and fire. The small Ohio town of East Palestine and the surrounding area in recovery mode. The community still struggling to its feet.
There's definitely lots of questions that still remain to be answered.
Possible answers from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA now opening a full-time community resource center in downtown East Palestine.
I understand that we have to earn the community's trust. There's a trauma here in this community. We understand that, and we want to be transparent and responsive.
Officials at every level trying to reassure residents here that their concerns are being heard and addressed.
This is a very elaborate process. They're going about it methodically, but quickly. I mean, this operation here is a 24/7 operation.
Ohio Governor Mike DeWine making yet another visit today to East Palestine, getting a first-hand look at the derailment site and the cleanup process.
The whole goal here is to, make this community safe, and it's can't happen overnight. You can't get all this stuff out of here overnight.
Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg also recently visited after President Biden faced mounting criticism for not coming himself. But despite all the attempts to show the work being done to make East Palestine safe, residents remain worried.
I have a part ownership in a farm, so I'm concerned about that, the soil at the farm. Can we plant? Can we not plant? Will anybody buy it if we do plant?
More than 160 residents from the affected area have come to the health assessment clinic set up to specifically address lingering health issues stemming from the derailment and subsequent controlled explosion and release. The EPA is vowing to continue to hold Norfolk Southern accountable for effects of the accident.
In no way, shape, form, or fashion will Norfolk Southern get off the hook for the mess that they've created.
The railroad company has distributed $6.5 million in payments to affected residents so far. That number, though, dwarfed by the $7.5 billion the company had earmarked for shareholder buybacks in the latest financial report, filed just hours before the derailment. Norfolk Southern has not responded to CNN on whether it expects to change its shareholder repurchase plans in the wake of the derailment.
Starbucks is facing 33 labor complaints involving 21 New York Starbucks locations. The judge says the company broke federal law in its attempt to stop workers from unionizing. Starbucks will have to give back pay and damages to workers who launched unionizing efforts. One location that was shut down for forming a union will now reopen. Thank you for joining us for AC 24/7. For more content that advocates to you, go to advocatechannel.com and make sure you follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. For the Advocate Channel, I'm Lamont Baldwin.